Cool. So, sex, porn, masturbation. Get used to those words because we're going to say those words a lot tonight. So, get the chuckles out right now. Thank you, Ben. So, to understand where I'm coming from on this, Abby, I have looked at porn. I have masturbated. That has been a part of my life and my experience. I'm not happy about it, obviously, but I've grown beyond it. And so I'm not here to preach to you all because I am obviously in no position to do that. But I'm here because porn and all its adjacents are evil and they affect us and our lives. And so to start, the porn industry is not harmless. I think we all know that, but we're going to talk about it anyway. So the stars are usually drunk or they're on drugs. They won't before they're going to be afterwards to cope. And if you think Hollywood's bad, then it's got nothing on the porn industry. It's rampant with rape, abuse. Many porn stars end up dying from overdoses, suicide, murder, AIDS. So it's easy to roll our eyes. In another context, people say, don't support Amazon, don't support Meta or Walmart or any of those because they're not perfect. But the porn industry is truly atrocious. So we are absolutely culpable when we feed that machine. Every time we click on those images or videos. But hey, maybe you look at swimsuit magazines. But what about you guys? Because it affects you personally. And how you think of the opposite sex. And the worst part is it's not just porn. The masturbation, hookup culture, all that is part of this larger culture of lust. And it's all focused on treating people like objects. Now this is nothing new. Humanity's always been obsessed with sex. But it's obviously still a problem. We can't just brush it off because it's always been around. And in some ways it is worse today because look at the media. Whether it's TV movies, maybe they're not fully nude, but they're basically wearing underwear while doing these sexually provocative scenes. Or look at when you go to the beach in people's swimsuits. They're basically in their underwear, if not less. Think of the music you listen to. It's easy to make fun of rap, but a lot of it is about denigrating women. And even all the other genres, a lot of it is still around lust, hookup culture, etc. So the big one for me was actually the James Bond movies, funny enough. Does anybody else like those or seen them? Kind of? Yeah, maybe skip them. So they're pretty good on action, but James is a hoe, guys. He sleeps with so many women. He sleeps with at least 2, if not 5 in every movie. And I kind of had a sort of an obsession phase with James Bond in middle high school. And it really taught me to see women as a prize, as an achievement at the end of a video game. And it affected my early dating experiences. It affected the way I viewed those women, the way I treated those women. I'm ashamed of that, but it's the truth. That's what happened. Now for the ladies, because I'm more talking about the men's perspective. This is from what I've read, what I've heard, women do experience lust. It just is less pervasive. And maybe you or the women they look at porn because, you want to, or it could be out of curiosity. What does sex look like? And that's part of it for me as well. But the thing is, it's still not accurate. It's a dramatization. It's a representation of what people think sex is or should look like. And it just feeds this idea that sex is performative, that it's only done to please the other person, that's not giving. And that's really the crux of what's wrong, even with sites like OnlyFans, where it's just the person creating their own content, no industry really involved. Because it's still degrading to the women and men involved. And same with relationships centered on sexual gratification. For the ones involved, especially for the women, all of this, it trains you to think that your only value comes from your sex, from what you can give sexually. Now, I want to be very clear, like, sexual desire is not evil. Sex is very good. But, like, we can misuse it, we can take it beyond the healthy limits and boundaries. We're not supposed to be robots. Okay, so I've talked enough about what we don't want to do, but what do we want to do? So, genuine love, which is pretty basic. And then does anyone know what love is by definition?
Wanting the best for the other person?
Yeah, to will the good of another. Exactly. And that's not limited to just the physical, especially when it's like, not your significant other. And are you familiar with the 5 love languages at all? Yeah,
A little bit.
yeah. Like, the physical is only one of those. We're on that a bit, but yeah, genuine love is not easy. Willing the good of another is hard because people are not easy. We're all imperfect, and so love is hard, even painful, but that's what we're called to. And C.S. Lewis actually explains this very well when he says, in lawful use, it leads the individual out of himself to complete and correct his own personality and that of another. And then he goes on to say, the real evil of masturbation and porn would be that it takes that appetite and turns it back into the man, sending him into a prison of himself, there to keep a harem of imaginary brides. And this harem, once admitted, works against his ever getting out and really uniting with a real woman. For the harem is always accessible, always subservient, calls for no sacrifices or adjustments, and can be endowed with erotic and psychological attractions, which no real woman can rival. The danger is that of coming to love the prison. And so how do we get out of all this? So 1, go to confession. Porn and masturbation are mortal sins, in case you didn't know that. 2, have accountability, whether it's a close group of friends or a mentor you trust. Jason Everett, who I'll get to more in a sec, he talks about this one group of men, where if any of them experienced a strong wave of temptation, they would all fast for 24 hours. Now, I've never been that bold, but if that's what it takes, then do it. 3, set goals. Start small. See if you can make it a week, 2 weeks, a month. Mark in your calendar discreetly, like when your last falling was. And then when you see how much progress you've made, the harder it is to regress. And there are apps like Covenant Eyes, which can help screen out the trash in our internet, try to basically remove the opportunity. Or if you were to override it, it would take a lot more effort, at least. So then how do we heal? How do we rebuild our soul, per se? Does anybody know who Jason Everett is, or has heard of him at least? So he talks a lot about chastity. Him and his wife have had they've had their own sexual baggage. And so they do a lot of talks, they write a lot of books, it's really good material. And he goes very much into not just what love is not, but what love is. What it means to actually love genuinely. For me, the biggest thing was training myself to see people, especially women, with pure love. And I know it sounds cheesy, but it's true. There's this age-old debate about can men and women be friends? And I know for me, having female friends was a great blessing because it forced me to learn to love them in a way that was not physical. We were talking about the love languages. Physical is only the other one of them. There's also gift-giving, quality time, words of affirmation, and acts of service. That's 4 other ways you can show love. And this is relevant in any aspect of your life. We are still called to love not just our significant other, but our families, siblings, parents, our peers, in my case, my colleagues. But the way I love my boss is going to be very different from how I love my wife. And so to those of you struggling, I want to be honest, the temptation doesn't fully go away. But resisting it does become much easier. Our actions form our habits, which in turn form our virtues. And as we go through the motions, as much of a struggle as it is, it eventually forms those good habits in us. And so the last thing I want to leave you with is, we're here for you. Whether you are whether you're actively looking at porn or masturbating or trying to recover from that, whether you've used people or been used, we are here to help and we're here to listen. And so we're about to break out into small groups, and we are going to do it men and female. Once again, a reminder of what is said in small group stays in small group, save if you think you're going to hurt yourself or others. That's all I got.
All right.